guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to do a story titled, My Girlfriend of 6 months wants to move in together, but she's pushing for me to buy a house that she won't be paying for. And a big shout out to Joseph for sending me this story. And guys, this story is just a perfect example of what I tell you all the time, particularly to the young guys in your relationships, why you need to be careful about those girls in their mid-20s looking to suddenly settle down. This story is about a guy. He is 25. His girlfriend's 24. He's been with her for only 6 months, and she's pushing him to buy a house, which she won't be paying for. She won't be paying for the down payment. She won't be on the house, so her credit won't be on the line. And when she moves in, she won't be paying a dime towards all the expenses. Crazy, but sadly, some guys would fall for this because they figure, hey, I got a good-looking girl. This is what I'm supposed to do. You're going to see also, guys, that he has a history with her where they were together like 8 years ago for a few months, and they were on again, off again. On again, off again. And this is that perfect example, guys, why you have to be so careful, like I said. I talk about all the time that gals will get to their mid-20s, and at that point, they're done riding the carousel temporarily to find a husband. So when they begin, they get out of school, start working, maybe, and their other girlfriends are starting to get rings on their fingers and get engaged, all that. They want to do the same thing because they know that the 30s coming up, and they'll try to find some unsuspecting sucker that will take care of them. And then next thing you know, they're married, the guy is trapped, and then they're back to riding the carousel and things like that. Also, you're going to see this story, guys. This guy here, you're going to be happy how it ends. He's no dummy. He can see there are problems already. And he's also very logical when it comes to money and things like that. While she, to no surprise, has lots of debt, very irresponsible with money, has her parents bail her out all the time for her own personal spending habits, things like that. It's not going to work. I tell you all the time, your relationship guys, if you're a guy that wants to build wealth and forge your own path in life, and you got a girlfriend that's terrible with money, pisses it all away on bullshit, that's going to be a problem. You're not going to work because she's going to piss away all your money on bullshit. But anyhow, guys, you're going to see how this whole thing plays out about her wanting to rush into things, pressuring him, and this may sound familiar to some of you guys. So it's a perfect example why you got to be so careful for those gals, in particular, the ones that are ready to suddenly, they're giving you attention when those types of gals never would because they want to settle. They want that house. They want the kids. They want that ring. So, starts off, he says here, my girlfriend, 24-year-old female, and I, 25-year-old male, have been together for just over 6 months. We dated in high school 8 years ago for a few months and have dated on and off for periods between then. And now as time, work, and proximity allowed, I went off to school and she stayed at home and worked. We both see each other as the person we want to marry and spend our lives with. Unfortunately, as of now, we both live at home with our respective parents. So, on again, off again over the years. In other words, it's unstable. And you're going to see here who the unstable one is. Major red flag. After a couple of years of working odd jobs after graduating from my undergrad, I finally found a solid employment, and I'm at the point where financially I can get out the door and on my own again. I've been looking at either renting an apartment or buying a home. I feel that I've been doing my homework and I've done a lot of research into these options. I met with my financial advisor, gotten pre-approved for a mortgage to figure out my purchasing power, continued to add to my savings, gone to a couple homes and apartments, etc. I'm still on the fence about both these options though. So, this guy, he's 25. Okay, he's putting away money, he's got himself his steady job, beginning his career, and already he's thinking he has a financial advisor, he's on the right path, as everybody should do. And now he's thinking, okay, perhaps this is the time to buy a house. It could work out for me, but I want to make sure everything's okay. He says, now the issue, and it is an issue. My girlfriend and I both believe that the next step in our relationship is to move in together. Are you making this decision or is she? And moving in together after 6 months? Smack. No. Way too soon. And I don't care if you date on again, off again in the past. No, you need to really get to know her before you even consider doing that. Okay? Really get to know her. And you're going to see, guys, he's about to really get to know her true colors real quick. And the only reason you should do that is if you plan to get married, which You know my opinion on that, but people are going to do it anyway. He ain't ready. They ain't ready. He says, something we can't do while we both live at home. Move in together. So she is very excited about the moving out portion of this. She's also heavily leaning towards the home buying direction. The problem with all this is that she is currently unemployed and for the most part broke after finishing undergrad and preparing to start graduate school. Shocker. If we moved in together, it would be all on my dime. Rent, mortgage, utilities wise. She began pushing heavily, centering most of our conversations on buying a house or things we could do when we have our own home. She's even brought her parents into the equation. Her father has begun talking to me about pre-approvals and mortgages. Her mother has given me tons of advice and is also all over me buying a home. I'm beginning to feel a bit overwhelmed. So, this guy is going to buy the house, put the down payment, all his money, his credit on the line. He is going to be paying for everything, all the bills, all the taxes, mortgage, you name it. And she's not paying a dime. What's the problem here? This is bullshit. But a lot of guys might fall for this if they got that pretty girl that wants to start a life with them. You can't do this. And the parents are jumping in on this. One has to question that. I almost feel like if I say no to a home, that she's going to leave me or something. I'm not sure what to do or how to approach the situation. Dude, and I know you'll see he'll handle this right, but who cares? Who cares if she'll leave? You've been dating 6 months. Who gives a shit? You're not going to let a girl push you into doing something like this, put you in a bad situation. Because obviously, if you need someone to help with the bills and you can't count on her, then you shouldn't be buying a house because you don't want to obviously not be able to make your mortgage payments and lose the place and decimate your credit, lose your down payment, all that. It says, now little minor updates before we get to the other updates. He says, thanks to you all for responding. I didn't think anyone would comment. He says, anyway, an update of sorts. I've thought it all out. I think it's important to our relationship that I tell her that I'm not 100% comfortable with the idea of buying a house at the present moment and that I don't want to jump on this unless I am, especially seeing that it's entirely on me and my wallet. Good, bro. When I first read this, I thought that he would cave. Like, oh no, I'm going to lose her, so I'll go ahead and buy the house anyway. She may offer to help pay for a few things here and there, food and like, but it's still a house and we'd be living under my name and my money on the pretense that we decided after 6 months that we wanted a house because we think we are going to get married. Way too freaking soon. Way too soon. But guys, in a moment you're going to see what's her motivation behind this. And by the way, he said, oh, she'd help out a little. What? Occasionally buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks, and that's it. Everything else is on this guy. He says here, it would probably be best to look at an apartment. If even for only 6 to 12 month lease, while we both save money, seeing that she's about to start graduate school. If she can't accept this fact, then I guess we have to look at the relationship as a whole and see what else is going on. Thanks for the comments and the advice, you all rock. Yeah, already you can tell he's sensible. This is too fast. I want it all on me. Let's get an apartment. Okay, we'll test things out with the apartment. Meanwhile, I can save money. You can save money. He's being logical, practical, common sense as a man always must be. Not let his emotions make financial decisions. Now watch how she handles this. He says, a couple days ago, I posted how my girlfriend wants to move in with me and get the house. This is his update. This house would be under my name, my wallet, and not share with her in any way beyond. Beyond, you can live here as a guest. As stated in the previous post, I'm not 100% comfortable with purchasing a home since I've been only working in a stable job for around 6 months. Our relationship is only about 6 months old here. That is freaking madness. 6 months? But remember, she's 24. What I tell you, they get out of college, mid-20s, a lot of them are starting to look to settle. And they'll rush into things with an unsuspecting guy right here. And in a moment, guys, you're going to see what else is behind the scenes pushing her on this. And she currently has no income and no significant amount of student debt, pending student debt, with graduate school coming up. I decided, thanks to the many comments here and comments made to me by people in my life, that I probably should sit down with a girlfriend and talk about it. So I did. Now watch this when he tries to bring common sense and logic to the situation, and she comes from a place of pure emotion and self-interest. Watch how this whole thing plays out. I told her why I'm concerned about buying a house financially. I don't have the money to make a significant 20% down payment, and I don't think it's unreasonable to save up more, etc., etc. Her response to this was, ask my somewhat wealthy grandfather for money. This isn't really an option in my mind. I was raised to be as financially responsible as possible. Hence the huge hang-up about whether or not I'm ready to purchase a house or not, let alone live with someone I've been dating for only 6 months. Exactly. I like that. Raised to be financially responsible. How often does that happen nowadays? Not a whole lot. He doesn't want money from grandpa. He wants to do it on his own. A real man is going to carve his own path in life, forge his own path, whatever you want to call it, okay? In an emergency situation, okay, maybe you can take some help from people and pay it back as soon as possible, but you all get my point. In her mind, just take the money from family, because that's what she does. Already, you can see there's a very different attitude towards money. And notice he said she has significant amount of student debt. Guess what? He marries her, that becomes his debt. I explained that for her and me financially in the future, it would be better as well to not get a house at this point. We could both save money, and if we decide to buy a home later in our relationship, like when we decide to actually get married or are married, we can have a larger savings pool or potentially 2 incomes, and I wouldn't risk my credit or bank accounts now on a starter home. Again, more common sense here, but she's not coming from a place of common sense. She kept going back and forth to me asking my family for money. She was sometimes through he wrote this wrong. She would sometimes mention about how her parents have helped her pay for many things, and that is something her family values. There you go. He wants to pay for all his things, carve his own path in life. She is used to her parents paying for everything for her. Completely different attitudes towards money and spending and all that. Bad place to be. This is not going to work. They would constantly clash. She's not employed, so her parents are helping pay her college debt. Her parents are covering most of her bills, insurance, debt, etc., if not all of them. Her parents are even paying her existing expenses from when she recently attempted to move out. She basically was telling me that she can't pay for herself, and she's made some bad choices with her money. That's probably putting it mildly. Guys, your relationship guys, if you are a saver and an investor and you're trying to build wealth, and your girl is the exact opposite. She spends money. She's reckless. She's irresponsible with money. Break up with her. This guy should be breaking up with her because it's not going to work. She may have been able to save up a significant amount of money, but she lost most of that on a bad decision. I then brought up the fact that it might be better to try living together in an apartment first, because there's lower risk there. I'd rather see if we can handle living together in an apartment where if push comes to shove, it's an apartment and not a house under my name where I'm going to have to continue to pay for it. Even if I got my own apartment, which I was looking at prior to the suggestion of a house, she could come and spend a weekend or so there first and such. Me getting an apartment now doesn't mean that we can't have a house later. Again, common sense, being practical. She doesn't give a shit. Then she dropped a major emotional bomb on me. Shocker. She brought up her health and the fact that she has an accelerated biological clock. She's basically looking to start having kids within the next couple of years or she won't be able to. And she wants a house with someone that can provide for them in order to do this. Here we go. Now she's showing her hand. According to her accelerated biological clock, meaning probably like her eggs won't be good in a short time period. Now, whether this is true or not, I don't know. But the point is, right there, she's admitting. She's rushing into things. It's her biological clock. I want to have kids. Right there, I want someone to provide. Not, I love you so much, I want to spend the rest of my life with you. I'm just looking for a meal ticket so that way I can get pregnant, have babies. Goodbye. It's over. Do not be with her. She's using you. End of story. She's looking for her nice guy provider. End of freaking story. This is when all the stars align in my head, and the greater picture of why she's behaving the way she is has done the things she has done. I probably don't have to spell it out for you, but I will. She wants me to get a house because despite the fact that she's in debt, has no job, has her parents paying many of her bills, and is able to start a master's program, she wants to start a family because if she doesn't do it soon, she won't be able to. Yeah, and guess what? Let's just say they got the house, they moved in together and all that, but didn't get married. I guarantee you within no time she'd get pregnant. Therefore, she would stop the master's degree program. And guess what? Now she's pregnant. Now they got to get married. And he probably would do it. And now her debts become his debts. She starts pumping out kids. Everything is on him. And now, guess what? She ain't going back to school. All this debt. And she's not getting anything from it. She's not getting a job, not having an income, all that. What'd I tell you? She took it a step further and explained to me that for a while she thought that she would stay with her previous boyfriend, and he says in parentheses, a semi-abusive and general bad guy, and I don't say this because he's her ex, I've met him, simply because being in a bad relationship meant that she'd be able to have a family since he's a bit older and has him set himself up financially. Says he waited until he was nearly 30 to buy a house after living in an apartment for several years. So she almost considered going with the abusive ex just because he had resources so she could play house, get a ring on her finger, be married, and have kids. Again, proving she doesn't give a shit. It's about what she can get. She decided not to and thought about just not having kids until she met me. She put the charm and flattery on here. She sees me as someone who'll be a good father and be able to provide for kids, and she thinks that her and I will go the distance and get married, etc. Right there. Be a good provider and good father. Right here. This is exactly what I talk about all the time. So if anybody thinks I'm full of shit and saying for you guys that get to your mid-20s, late 20s, you start getting a job, you start getting resources, and these girls that normally wouldn't give you the time of day are paying attention to you and want to settle and all that, this is why. Right here. They want to have kids. They want to get married. I guarantee you some of her friends already got a rock on their finger. Her logic, from my interpretation, is that we are getting married in the future. Why not get a house now? And we can start working towards that now. Because I'm not putting it all on me. That's why. And who cares? If we're a loving couple, what difference does it make if we're in an apartment in the beginning? There are people that are married, have babies, and are in apartments. They don't own the house just yet, and they get along just fine. Nope. She wants to lock this guy in. She wants to trap this guy. Trap a husband. He says here, she even mentioned that if we were to purchase a house now, then further on down the road, when she graduates from graduate school and is making more money, who knows how long that could be, she'll be able to pay the mortgage stuff and we can afford stuff then, but for 2 years, it could be tight. Please, the second she gets pregnant, and she would very quickly, that's over with. She even brought up the fact that she's almost 25, living at home, and she can't handle living there anymore. She's living there rent-free, and she's bitching, and her parents cover all her debts, and she's bitching and complaining. So yet another thing is she's rushing to get out of there to live with anybody but her parents. Again, using this guy. She has family issues, and if she can't find a way to deal with them or get out, she might just have to leave and go somewhere else, even if it means out of state. I got some other great bits from her as well. Apparently moving out of state with debt and without a job is a better option than trying to live in an apartment with or without me. Having a kid of her own is better than having a kid with someone else she loves and is married to and has an apartment with. None of this makes sense, nor do I have any idea where this came from. Of course it doesn't make sense. There is no logic here, but in her mind it's very logical. Okay? She's using you. End of story. She wants to get out from her parents' house. She wants to find some sucker so she can have babies with, probably prove to her parents that she's an adult. She gets pregnant, doesn't have to go back to school again, doesn't have to work. The guy's trapped. That's what's going on. Basically, I've come to the point where I decided that I'm going to get myself an apartment and to clarify me on the lease contract, not her involved, and no to her living there. If she can't handle this and is convinced that it's going to wreck our relationship, if we don't get a house at 6 months into the relationship, then I guess that isn't a relationship that I want to be in. Good. A lot of guys would cave. They'd think, I'm going to lose her, so I got to get that house, or I got to do whatever she wants. Bullshit. This is a young guy, 25 years old, his whole life ahead of him. He's doing what he's sharp. He's started his career. He's making money. He's putting away, consulting financial advisors, being smart about this, carving his own path in the world. He's not going to let her get in the way. Thank the Lord. And by the way, if it isn't obvious already, he needs to break up with her right now. Because aside from not seeing eye to eye when it comes to money and spending and all that, she's using him. It is obvious as can be. And I guarantee you that if he got an apartment and he stayed with her, guaranteed she'd be pregnant within no time. Because then she'd get pregnant and then could say, well, we have to get married now. And he'd be under the pressure and just might do that. And the second they got married, she ain't going back to work. She ain't going back to school. She has all those debts now become his problem. And he finishes as saying, thanks for all the comments and private messages. I made myself an action plan of sorts. I'm going to find a public place and discuss this with her again and tell her that I'm not down for what she has in mind. Again. Notice he said I'm going to talk to her in a public place. Probably to make sure that she doesn't throw a tantrum. She can't say that he did this or did that or whatever. She needs to get her priorities in order and be more realistic. I'm not going to buy a house on my own or with anyone on the premise that in the future she'll be able to assist with it, especially with her financial background. I'm going to stick with myself and get an apartment. She needs to figure out her own shit and probably see a therapist. I can't be the magic bank vault that puts a roof over her head while she figures her life out and acts on half-assed plans on HGTV and ideas from Pinterest while trying to start a family and get a master's degree with the financial output she has now. Amen, brother. So, what I'm reading between the lines here, it's over. That is it now for the story. I wish there were more. But right here, guys, perfect example. Like I said this probably about 5 times already. You guys that do dating relationships, be careful. Be careful for those girls that get to their mid-20s and want to temporarily stop the carousel riding to find their nice guy to settle down with. They do it. You know they do it. And they don't care about them. They just care what the guy can provide. End of story. It was spelled out right there. And not to mention, they're completely different paths when it comes to money and spending and saving and all that. It's never going to work. So for your relationship, guys, be careful. Thank the Lord this guy had the good sense to say no way. And by the way, if he stayed with her, like I said, he got an apartment and she was still living with the parents, I guarantee you she'd be pregnant like that. This guy, if he stayed with her, would have to watch, he'd have to have his condoms in a freaking bank vault because otherwise she's going to be poking holes or doing anything. Or I could see her getting pregnant by somebody else and telling him it's his child in hopes that he'd rush to marry her, then buy the house, doesn't have to go to school, and he has to pay her freaking debts, all that. Or, if he got a house and they weren't married, who knows what the common law marriage laws are in his state or wherever the hell he lives, that could become her house in a short period of time. A lot of things here to be careful. So this video really is a good example and a warning to all you young guys out there to be careful for the gals because they're going to do this. Right here. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know, guys. Have you ever experienced this? When you could just tell something was up with a girl rushing into things to try to get you to settle, move in, get married, whatever, and you could tell it was just about what she could get out of it, the resources. Who the hell knows? Just let's hear about it in the comment section because when you comment, guys read this all over the world. We'll help them out. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.